Imagine being a senior manager in a company, but your boss resents you so much that on Sunday he sends SMS messages to the other managers and tells them to meet at a certain hotel since he doesn't want you to attend the weekly management meeting. Wewe unaenda job Monday ukiwa clueless, then you notice that all the other managers are missing. You later learn that they held the meeting at a plush hotel away from the office to make sure that you don't attend. Yes, that was one of the crazy experiences I went through during my employment time. If you're a student about to enter the employment world, someone who has just started working, or you've been working for a while but you're not happy in your job, join me in this vlog as I share my employment experiences, what I learned, especially the stuff that college cannot teach you. So, it's no longer a secret. Many people hate their jobs. Maybe you're even lucky to have landed a job in line with what you studied, but the work environment is so hostile, you feel trapped. You can't get out because you have bills to pay, you have a family to take care of, and at the same time you're unhappy. Every day you go to work is a miserable moment. Well, I'd like to share a few pointers of things I learned during my employment period, and hopefully they will help you maneuver the murky world of employment and office politics. Number 1. Never assume that you are the company and the company is you. I know, that sounds weird, right? Let me explain this. Let me break it down for you. Most of us, especially when fresh in a new job, we are so excited about our work, we begin to treat the workplace as if it was our alpha and omega. With time, we become so engrossed in the happenings of that workplace that before long, we begin to feel like it's our property, like we are partners in that company. Guess what? So long as your name is not in the company name, that company doesn't belong to you and you should not operate like it is. Granted, it's a good thing to be a thorough worker, but just don't get sucked into that comfort zone where you assume you will be there for life. To make this point clearer, I'll tell you about a man whom I found at the first job I got after college. He prided himself as having been in the company for over 20 years and even noted that he was part of the team that started the company's operations in Kenya. One day, the head office management announced an upcoming retrenchment. This man was so sure that he would remain that he actually proceeded to give the CEO names of people he thought should be retrenched. Yes, he did. I know what you're thinking. And you're right. When the letters were distributed, he received one. To say he was shocked is an understatement. He was retrenched, and he remained bitter for many years. I know this because he tried suing the company. So long as the company has given you enough time, they've given you what they owed you, then you don't have a case in court. But in denial, he kept pursuing a case to sue the company. To be honest, I don't think he ever recovered. Why? He had become so comfortable at the workplace to a point of assuming that he co-owned the company. And that's why every time he would talk to us, he'd always tell us, I've been here more than 20 years. I was one of the first people who set up the Kenyan office. He always used to tell us that. What was even worse about that retrenchment process was that it targeted employees who had been in the company for over 15 years. So as I watched them pack, I was so sad and I kept thinking to myself, does this mean that loyalty is rewarded with termination of a contract? It was at that point I vowed to never stay in one company for more than 6 years. Yes, it was the best company I had ever worked in, but guess what? Because of that retrenchment process, I resigned the following year. No, I'm not suggesting you follow my example. Actually, of course, there are jobs that offer a sense of security, especially if you work in, say, the government, stuff like that, then there's always that sense of security. But I will tell you more about how to make sure you don't allow the workplace to frustrate you to a point that you can't leave that job, but at the same time half your salary goes to medical because you have ulcers, you have blood pressure, and all that. I'll be telling you more about that. And one of the things that I need to tell you about is always have a side hustle that you can lean on in case you lose your main job. That's one way of freeing your mind and making your mind, very, very comfortable, because even when that boss is making life difficult for you, and they can make life difficult, that's the beauty of a side hustle. The other thing I learned is that your colleagues are not your friends. It was a cruel lesson, but that's it. Your colleagues are not your friends. Let me try and bring this to perspective. We work to make money, and as you know, money is the root cause of evil. Money per se is not evil, but it has the ability to bring out the beast in humans. So it doesn't matter how widely your colleagues smile at you. You need to always remember that all of you are in competition for that end month paper. There's a common scenario that happens to many gullible employees. Kwanza mimi, I've always been a victim of that. Picture this. So one day you're having a bad day because the boss has told you to do something you consider unreasonable, or maybe you disagree with the decision he or she has made. Then this concerned colleague notices that you don't look happy, and they just come and ask you in a very concerned way, with like a tilted head, like, what's wrong? Ha! Wherever you're there, you go and open your mouth and begin to lay down your frustrations. You're not saying you hate your boss. You're just saying you're not agreeing with what they are suggesting or what they are doing. Kidogo kidogo, after a few days, you notice that your boss no longer greets you. They are hostile towards you. Guess what? Your very concerned colleague who came in with a tilted head, that tilt where someone shows you they are really concerned at you, what's wrong? That one. They were just playing with you so that they can gather that which they can use against you. Everything you said, and I mean that, everything you said, they spilled it to the boss, and trust me, it was not reported in the context you said it. They have to make it out of context so as to tarnish your name. Yeah, that's a lesson many of us learn a bit too late. So I'm not saying I no longer do it. I do it. But nowadays I do it very cleverly. If there's something I want my boss to know, I will tell a colleague. And because I don't have one source of income, I really don't care if they fire me or not. Okay, that's careless. Again, don't do what I do. But let me tell you something. If you have several sources of income, you'll be so open with your boss that you will really not care what other people say or how other people go around tarnishing your name. I'm just saying. The third thing I learned is sometimes your boss or work colleagues will not like you. And once again, I'm sure you've heard of the saying, if everyone likes you, you're the problem. Yeah, that's deep, but it's true. Because it either means you don't stand for anything, or you're a hypocrite who agrees with everything so as to please everyone. Again, the only way to cushion yourself against those who don't like you in the workplace is to have a financial life outside. Again, we go back to the side hustle. I used to be one of those zealous employees. You give me a job and I work as if the world is ending tomorrow. Basically, like I own the company. So after I left the company I talked about earlier, whereby I saw people getting retrenched and I freaked out, I got a job with another company which was producing audio material. So while there, I sort of noticed a gap and I was like, okay, yeah, it's all good that you guys are producing audio material, but did you know that video earns you more? So the boss was very excited and she gave me a job as the head of the video department. And within a year, that video department flourished. Not only were we getting contracts in line with video productions, but we also started training students on practicals in video and audio. The department did so well that after a year, our head office, which was in another country, they noticed my efforts and began praising me. Long story short, around April that year, the following year now, a pay rise was forwarded from the head office, but come end month, I discovered that I was the only one who had not received a pay rise. And I remember the pay rise was ranging between 2,500 and 5,000 shillings because not everyone was getting the same amount. I remember I was so upset and I asked God why He allowed me to be discriminated, considering that I had gone out of my way and actually come up with something that was gonna bring a little bit more income into the company. I was really upset. Through an inner voice, God answered and said to me, Faith, pay rises don't come from man. They come from me. At that time, I remember I was so bored, so upset. I didn't even seek to understand what God was saying. But then, a few days later, this very strange thing happened. By that time, I had learned that I need to always have a side hustle, not to cushion myself as such, but I was doing a side hustle because this place I was not earning very well. So I just got an extra job so that I can be able to fill up on the amount I was earning. So a few days later, after this pay rise discrimination, the college I was teaching, which was based in the city center, Nairobi, they call me and they tell me, come over, we have a residual check for you. And I'm like, What's a residual check? I just asked myself that in my mind. But physically, I ran. I didn't want to know what a residual check is. I was like, okay, let me go and find out later while there. So I go and I pick a check of 22,000 shillings, and I'm like, so that's when I asked the head of department, what is this about? He told me, actually, the money these guys have been putting in your account has been less than what you're supposed to be receiving. So we went back to our records and realized that there's some money you were supposed to be receiving, but you didn't receive. So we've just collected all that, and that's why I'm calling it a residual check. Let me tell you, that time is when God's still voice again reminded me, see, I told you, pay rise doesn't come from man, it comes from me. And so suddenly, as I was holding that check, I realized, wait, guys were given a pay rise between 2,500 and 5,000 shillings. Here I am holding a check of 22k. So I remember looking up and I'm like, hey God, can we make a deal? Si unifikishie hiyo pesa ya side hustle ilikuwanga inafika 30k per month. I wasn't ambitious at the time. I just wanted a 30k. I knew with 30k it would be enough to just take care of my needs and probably treat my family here and there. I wasn't ambitious. Long story short, over the next few years, that money moved from 30,000, because actually the following month I started receiving that 30,000. My point is, God is the one who pays us, and He can give you the amount you need through a side hustle or even a main job, especially if He notices that you're being treated unfairly in your main job. So my point is, don't focus on your salary too much that you forget to make money outside. The fourth lesson I learned was a lesson I learned from my dad. May God rest his soul in eternal peace. There'll always be one or several employees who want to get you fired. I remember the day he said that, I remember looking at him like, I don't know, naivety had made me not even think about it. Did you hear what I said? There always will be that one or several employees who want to get you fired. Either because they want your position, or your work makes them look bad, or maybe they might resent you because the boss likes your work. And the only way to deal with that is to be the best at what you do. I'm reminded of a time when Kenya did not value Kiswahili. So in terms of media, most producers preferred to do programs in English. Encouraged by a certain producer who later became my mentor, I took up Kiswahili productions. One day I received a call from a friend who tells me there is a company that has been looking for a Kiswahili producer, that I should try. A few days later, I went to drop my CV and I arrived a few minutes to lunchtime on a Friday. On entering the CEO's office, I could instantly tell that he was not in the mood of receiving visitors, and when I told him that I was bringing my application for the production job, he told me that I was late, noting that receiving of applications closed a month earlier. Disappointed, I headed for the door, but he requested me to leave the CV with him. As soon as I stepped out of the gate, the guard came running towards me and told me that the boss wanted to see me again. On going back, his demeanor had changed. He seemed quite excited by what he had seen on the CV. His first question was, "Young lady, are you sure you have done all these things you have listed on the CV?" "Yes," I answered. "And you're fluent in Kiswahili as you stated here?" "Yes," I answered. "Okay, you're hired. But for formality purposes, I will need you to write an application letter. Bring it on Monday, but come ready to start work." I was standing there wondering, what has just happened? Anyway, so I started working, but later I learned that this company had looked for a TV producer who can do Kiswahili for months with no success. People came there with heavy papers, very qualified people, but the moment they were asked, "Can you do a Kiswahili show?" hapo ndio walikuwa wanakwama. Yet me, a diploma holder, ended up landing this job, all because I was doing Swahili programs, something that most producers at the time were not willing to venture into. And that's what I'm talking about. What gave me an edge was Kiswahili. Always seek out the jobs that people avoid, and possibility is that you will have a high level of indispensability. The downside of it is you'll always draw resentment from your colleagues. I'm sorry, I wish I could tell you otherwise, but that's just the truth. And that is why you always need to have something working out there, so that in case they manage to get rid of you, you won't struggle looking for another job. You will always have a lead. The other thing I learned is friends become your business networks. I'm sure you've heard a lot about that, but I don't think we take that seriously. The world has sort of programmed us to respect status and popularity, and fame. And those are the people we want to be friends with. Let me give you a reality check. You need to cultivate a habit of making friends wherever you go. Forget about those motivational speakers who tell you you need to hang out with guys who have made it, that is CEOs, senior managers. Selecting friends based on status just makes you a snob. I repeat, selecting friends based on status makes you a snob. Plus, God can use anyone to be your success ladder, so learn to talk to everyone. And by that I mean, master the art of spectrum, which allows you to chat with a street kid 1 minute and dine with a president in the next. Because that person you consider a blue collar today, you don't know where he will be 5 years from now. Also, those we consider to be beneath us tend to interact with the bosses we want to impress. Thus, if you're rude or openly ignore them, they will paint a poor picture to the bosses. Think of a driver. This person spends quite a bit of time with the boss if they are driving them to a meeting or something. So, if you've been openly rude to this person and ignoring them, what do you think that person will be telling the boss when they are going for that meeting? Think, people, think. Master the art of spectrum, whereby you can deal with a street kid 1 minute and you can dine with a president the next minute. I'm reminded of a time I was looking for a job opportunity in script writing. Unfortunately, most of my examples tend to be negative. Like, I learn through mistakes, man. And sometimes I wish someone had told me the things I'm telling you today so that you escape those mistakes. So I'm reminded of a time I was looking for a job opportunity in script writing. By the way, I love scripting. I can script. I love scripting. So I was introduced to a producer with one of the TV stations in Kenya. But as we were talking, he began to hint that if I want the job, I have to give in to him sexually. Of course, I flat out refused, but how I went about it was rude and, completely crass. I was not nice. Even me, sometimes I think about it today and I still shiver at how I handled that situation. Years later, a certain company approached me because they needed a scriptwriter. And when I went to meet them, guess who was in charge of the production? The man I was rude to. He didn't even need to say anything. The look he gave me just told me that they will not be hiring me. Of course, I would still have said no if he asked again, but I was so rude when I declined the offer he was giving me. And this time when I came for this interview for a scripting job, he still remembered. Since then, I've learned to be diplomatic. Even when I'm turning down anything I don't agree or approve of, I'm always diplomatic. And that leads me to the next point. Sexual favors. It's one of those taboo topics we don't like talking about. The socialite culture is teaching the modern young woman that it's okay to use your body to get ahead in life, right? This culture lies to innocent girls that there is glamour in it. As the socialites post pictures on IG which reveal their shopping spree or the fact that they are living large in exotic resorts, there are certain pictures they forget to post. Pictures that show them visiting STD clinics. They also cleverly omit tales of the demeaning things they have to go through to make the money they show off to the world. They also miss out to tell us about the abuse they experience in the hands of some of these idiots who pay for their services. Bottom line, jobs earned through sexual payments, they don't last and they are not fulfilling. Plus, a pervert who demands that kind of payment has probably slept with too many girls that he can't count. And trust me, when he's done with you, he will hop on to the next girl and he will hire that girl and she will replace you and you will no longer gain the favors this person was giving you and you will probably lose the job that he originally gave you. But the worst bit about being replaced is you have to go collecting your dignity out in the streets. That is if you're lucky enough to find it. What I didn't tell you is that a while later, I met this same man who had denied me a scripting opportunity while at a TV producers forum. And guess what? I was a TV producer myself. We greeted each other cordially, and when he asked me which production I was handling, I proudly announced that I was a series producer for Pendo, a show that had been nominated for the Kalashas, and at the time it was running on NTV. My dear ladies, hustle kivyako, and those doors that were unfairly closed to you, God will open them. And finally, picture this. Is there someone in your workplace who is mean, moody, close to the boss, probably doesn't even like seeing people around the boss? They always want to be the ones near the boss. They're always suggesting the firing of certain people. always curious about people's lives. This person is also not competent in what they do, but when you complain to the boss, nothing is done to them. If anything, they get promoted. Sounds familiar, right? My guess is you already have a mental picture of that person in your workplace. You need to listen to a man called Minister Kevin. He explains how the demonic entities connect to our workplace. Yes, people are using demonic powers to keep their jobs. And this phenomena comes at a price, mostly paid by innocent, gullible employees who are mostly believers, since watu wa church tunakuanga tumelala such that the only time we open the Bible is on Sunday when following the one verse that the pastor is reading. Kweli uongo? We only open our Bibles when the pastor is reading a verse or two. Sindio? Your jobs will continue disappearing. Utakuanga tu unakuja unapata job unafutwa ujui ni kwa nini umechukiwa. Even me, I was asleep. I've left Minister Kevin's link below in the description box because this is a topic I'm not qualified to discuss, but after listening to him, you'll understand a lot of stuff you've been seeing in the office but you can't explain. So, I hope this helps. Try applying it and thank me later. Remember to share this video to any employee or someone setting out to their first job and subscribe to my channel. I'm Faith. Be blessed.